Bonjour and welcome back. So today I'm going to talk to you about a topic that is not often talked about, which is fit and unhealthy. So what I mean by that is that not everybody that is fit is healthy. I mean, there's that image that society wants to project that anybody who is fit is very healthy. But I met a few people during my career and I can tell you that it's not always true. So let me start with the example of someone I know quite well. So here's this guy, we are like around 2010. He's a very fit Ironman. He's actually one of the fittest Ironman athletes in Hong Kong. And he's got some very good results. He's been to the Ironman World Championship 2001, 2002 and 2010, so pretty successful triathlete. He even did an Ironman under 9 hours 30, which is quite good, especially when you have a busy life and a family life on top of that. And he felt almost indestructible, like really he could train and train and train and his body would absorb the load without any problem. But then, eventually around 2012, things started to get down a little bit. He started to feel really tired, and as an athlete he knew very well what is normal and what is not normal, and he could tell that that wasn't normal. Like someone of his caliber, of his fitness, shouldn't be that tired in the morning and all day long, by the way. And then things went south more and more and more, to a point that after a while he couldn't even wake up in the morning. He had to take a nap after lunch almost every day, and sometimes 2 naps a day. One time on the birthday of his son, he couldn't even stay with the kids, and he had to go into his room and sleep in the middle of the birthday party because he was so tired. Why am I telling you this story of this guy? Well, it's because this guy is me. Yeah, I'm laughing, but that's not fun. So I went from like being one of the top Ironman contenders in Asia to not being able to stay with my 7-year-old kid because I was too tired. And it's not even the worst, like it went even worse after that. I started to experiment brain fog, couldn't remember things, couldn't focus on anything. And eventually it spiraled down into some kind of depression because I just couldn't recognize myself. I have lost my identity as an athlete, as a father, as a person. I was so dysfunctional. I was functioning at such a low level that it actually got into my head in the end. So how come? How can you be that fit and that unhealthy? How can you be Ironman fit and very sick deep down? Well, let's come back to the definition of being fit. Fit is just having the requisite qualities to do something that you're aiming at doing. It doesn't mean that you are healthy. It doesn't mean that you are fit at everything. So for example, with triathlon, especially long ones, we are training our body to run a marathon after 180k bike. So it's an extremely difficult achievement, obviously, but it's also very narrow. If I go on the football field, I get smashed by everybody, or on a tennis field, I get smashed by everybody because I'm very fit to run long after cycling, but that's pretty much all I can do. And you can pretty much run a marathon of the bike with a very aching back, for example, or with knees that are like marmalade because you've been running too much for so many months. So what I'm trying to tell you is like both can coincide. I coach a lot of athletes and I've seen a lot of things in them, and including into with the fittest athletes. So some are really sports addicts, sugar addicts. Some have problems with sleeping, relationship problems, disordered eating, obsessive compulsive behavior, no social life whatsoever, very unhealthy patterns. So what I've observed is like when you're in your 20s or 30s, these unhealthy patterns, as I call them, are basically digested by your system. You can pretty much do all kinds of mistakes with your health and just get away with it. But by the time you reach 40, 42, then all your mistakes are catching up. And if you've had very unhealthy patterns, then you start to get sick. And that's precisely when it happened for me. Past 40s, suddenly all the mistakes I've made in the past, especially my poor stress management skills, caught me. And I got really sick in spite of being, again, super fit. So, all right, so what to do? You know, I will never say don't exercise and be so cautious that don't do an Ironman, you know. I still believe you can do these amazing feats like ultra trail and Ironman. But what you must be careful about is to have a solid health foundation before going into these extreme sports. So what do I call a solid health foundation? Well, you should make sure that you sleep well. You should make sure that your nutrition is good. You should make sure that you have social support, you know, because being on your own is also something that in the end will catch up on you. You should make sure that you know how to manage your stress, because training is another type of stress, maybe a good one, but you still need to stomaching. You need to be able to work on your recovery. And it may not sound that obvious, but it's also important that you have a purpose in life, that it's not just finishing an Ironman or a half Ironman or a marathon. Yeah, you need something greater in life. So you need to have that solid health base, that solid foundation, so that you can leverage on it. And then you can do all the hard training you want, and you will recover and you will not get sick. But if you have a shaky foundation, if you disregard your health, if you don't listen to your body, then that's when problems arise. And sometimes they arise years after. What I mean is like you can be very fit and unhealthy, but on the outside, you will not see it. Like you will look very healthy, just like I was. Like I probably starting to be sick at 40, but the first symptoms, the obvious symptoms, the one I couldn't hide, the one that I had to take into account because they were hitting me, appeared 2 or 3 years after. So there was this lag of 2 or 3 years during which I should have listened to my body, but my ego was just too big for that, and I didn't want to recognize that I was actually getting into trouble. Everything should be well in place. You have to have a system to make sure that even when you're stressed through your training, you don't get completely unbalanced. I firmly believe that you can do extreme fitness feats and be very, very healthy. They can definitely go hand in hand. But you must make sure that your health foundation is very, very solid. And that's basically what I'm going to talk about in most of my coming videos. How to be fit and healthy at the same time. So stay tuned and see you very, very soon for the next video. Thanks.